Got a little
Dancing
extra
in.
pep in our step today,
Well,
don't we, my friend?
putting up the 10 fingers, all in the screen.
What?
Listen, the excitement from everything in general that's going on is just like I would just be excited all the time, which is a great thing. Um, we're doing great.
Right? I can't wait to share with our listeners what has been happening
I think we
and
should go
what
ahead
is
and tell
going
them.
on. I can tell you, as a body-wise practitioner
Mm,
who teaches this stuff, somebody said on a call today
yeah.
that confession is good for the soul. So I'm
Mm,
gonna confess something to you, my friend.
okay. Okay.
Completely out of my body this morning. Like,
Mm,
I dumped half a cup of coffee on myself, and
mm.
then a little bit later, I spilled my whole cup of tea.
Is that what
And I
that
was like
means?
I was like,
Like when you're
"Wait a
like all
moment.
over the
I
place?
need to get present and get in my
Mm,
body and take a
mm.
deep breath and get here." And this week just feels like a week where I'm dancing way fast and
Yeah.
exciting, and it's good news. So, yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, and I was gonna ask you what you mean, and I think we could go more into it, what you mean when you say "out of my body," right? Because I drop stuff. I feel like sometimes I need to make more space for myself in doorways and turning sharp corners, like, why do I not know how much space I need? Like my car, when you're taking those turns, you gotta know, you know?
right?
But maybe that's what it is. Maybe in those moments, I need to get grounded and centered back into my body.
Right, and being present in the moment. I know for
Yeah.
me, what it often is I'm running too fast. Like, my brain
Mm,
is 5 steps ahead of where my body is because there's so much on my to-do list, or there's so much
mm,
happening, or there's so much exciting news, right? So,
yes.
all of that, right? Should we do
Yes.
our intro and then tell folks
Yes.
what we're
Yes.
vague looking about?
'Cause I'm ready to talk about it. Let's do it.
Alright.
Um, Hi, ladies. My name is Shannon Mitchell. I am the founder and owner of Shalo Glow LLC, a handmade shea butter company. I'm your champion for natural skincare and practical business systems.
Hey, y'all. My name is Christine Gotro. I'm a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, and published author who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Yes. Together, we are Women Connected in Wisdom, a podcast grounded in the 8 dimensions of wellness.
And we like to get together every week and have intentional conversations about how to be wise in business and
Yeah.
relationships and wellness, and talk to some pretty phenomenal guests.
I love it. I'm like, I can't wait to have this conversation. And that's why we have the podcast and bring them on so we can share it because I need it. And I love all of the different things and the details of, how we get to go deep with these ladies and how they do it. I listen to
Right?
you talk about yourself with the upgrade community and self-care, and I
Mhm.
heard it differently, the week after you sent me Panera when I got my teeth taken out, and I loved
Mm.
everything you sent. I don't even know if we talked about it, but when I was in bed with that gauze in my mouth, I was like, "Thank you, Christine," because what would we do without each other, you know?
Right? It
Yeah.
is. And in order to take care of our communities, we have to be paying attention to our self-care also, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
when we give from
Mhm.
an abundance of health, from an abundance of being in our bodies and being grounded and being centered, when we give from that place,
Yeah.
it is coming completely different from when we're giving from lack, or when we're giving from our leftovers, or it is a
Mhm.
different space and energy, and we want to be able to sustain it. Like, we
Yeah.
want to be able to sustain our self-care and our community care, because y'all, the world needs us. Like, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's important. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about what we are so excited about. How do you
y'all,
want to announce
Monday,
it?
Monday, we were on our Monday Manifesting Mastermind, which is a group,
Yes.
is where Shannon and I met,
Yeah.
3 years ago, close to 3 years ago.
Four,
I don't
4 now,
know. I
because
don't know. Time,
it's March.
this space time continuum, that now that the pandemic is thrown in, I don't know
Yeah.
anymore. Like, I don't know
Right.
what year it is or what's happening.
Mhm.
But So this is a group we've belonged to for years, and it is a
Yes.
group of entrepreneurs, mostly solopreneurs,
Mhm.
who get together every week and we support each other, and we give each other support around our goals and connections and resources that we need. And we always celebrate our successes. It's one of the things that we do that's a little different than some masterminds. Like, we
Mhm.
start with, hey, what's working? Like, let's focus on the good, which is a
Yeah.
principle of interplay, and let's celebrate what's working. So Shannon was giving her shout outs, and she
Yeah.
said something. I can't even remember
Let me
what you
see.
said, my friend, that sparked me to go check on Listen Notes, which Listen Notes is like the Google of podcast. If y'all are
Mm.
interested in new podcast, or you want to check out, like, it is, you can find any podcast in the world on Listen Notes. And
Mhm.
so I popped over there to check something and found out that after, what are we? We're on episode 60,
61 today.
61.
Yep.
So after 60 episodes, we had the distinction of being in the top 10% of podcasts in the world. Whoop,
Yes.
whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yes.
So, big
So
thank
excited.
you to our listeners,
Yes,
and
thank
for
you.
everybody listening or watching or both. Such gratitude, because
Mhm.
that's part of it, is y'all
Yeah.
liking and subscribing and listening. And that's part of what makes up that ranking. And we are so grateful. And yeah, it has
Yeah.
made our week. Like, we, every day we've checked in with each other and been like, whoop, whoop.
Woo woo. Yes. Yes. And speaking of Manifestation Mondays too, we are doing a live tonight. What did we decide, Christine? 7:30?
It's 7:30, yeah, on
Mm.
Instagram. We are
Yeah.
gonna bring together, some of our ladies that, a lot of them will not be new to you, because a lot of
Mm.
them have been guests on our podcast. Now, they were
Yeah.
some of our first guests because,
Mhm.
they're our friends, and we're like, "Come talk to us on this brand new podcast."
Yeah.
But phenomenal women that we are connected to, and we're gonna go live on Instagram tonight at 7:30, just in celebration and appreciation of International Women's Month, as this month shockingly draws to a close.
Mhm.
I say shockingly because how the heck is it going to be April 1st, like at the end of this week?
It's crazy. I feel
Yeah.
like last year's New Year's is like a few weeks ago. You
Right?
know, like it was
Right?
just the beginning of 2021. So,
It's
yeah.
incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Well, I am so excited for our topic today. Speaking about it being April, as we roll
Yes.
into tax month, as we roll
Mhm.
into those of us that are solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, and like, oh, yeah, okay, that's what's on all of our to-do list right now, is to
Yes.
have either already gathered that information to send to our accountants, or be gathering it, or be doing our
Mhm.
taxes, depending on where you
Mhm.
are on that spectrum.
Right.
But it has been in most of the conversations I've had in the last week or two, in some way or another. So today, what are we talking about, my friend?
We are talking about financial wellness, and capturing a complete definition of financial wellness is tricky because it means different things to different people.
Mhm.
At its most basic level, financial wellness is a holistic approach to counter financial illness. This holistic approach includes a combination of factors such as satisfaction with current finances, increasing positive financial behaviors like saving, reducing debt, and budgeting, financial knowledge that helps to change behavior, reduce financial stress, and creation of a financial plan to reach desired financial goals.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
Whew. Let's take a deep breath on that one. I don't know about y'all, but every time I talk about financial wellness, like, I feel like it's a lot of adulting. And it's a
Yes.
good thing,
Yeah.
right? It's a good thing, but it's a lot of adulting. So I'm excited to talk with our guest today,
Me too.
because I feel like she brings such knowledge and expertise to this, and with her business and just who she is. So, you want me to bring her up on stage,
Let's
introduce
do
her?
it.
All right,
Yes.
y'all. So our guest today is Jennifer Oladipo, and Jennifer Oladipo's writing and communication work. Ugh, I'm totally blowing it today. Here we go. Let me try that again. Her writing and communication work lies at the intersection of arts, business, and culture. Ugh. And we met through an organization called Alternate Roots. So, welcome to the stage,
Hello. Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
Jennifer. How are you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And
Hey.
You're a part of that. You're a part
we
of
Yes.
it.
celebrate that again.
Yes. Thank you so much.
It has just made our week. And so it's one of those things when you have a goal, because it was a goal of ours. Like we literally put it on our goal list that we wanted to have this distinction. And then when you hit that goal, right? I think about it when we talk about financial wellness, right? We can celebrate around those goals too.
Absolutely. I can't wait. One of my financial goals is we talked about it being adulting, right? I can't wait to have fun with money. I just want to fly around the world, do what I want spontaneously. Like, you know what? I really want this sandwich from Zimbabwe. Let's go get that. Just one day.
You
Yes.
have small fun with money. That's one of the things that I've been trying to do is like, just enjoy
That's
it.
true.
Like enjoy
Absolutely.
Oh, say more about that, Jennifer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just not something I really grew up with, the opportunity, or, it wasn't like something in front of me. So learning to, like, when you are hitting those financial goals, like to switch gears and be like, okay, I can have a different relationship now to things, and money is like it's a vehicle, it's a tool, it's a way to do other things. It's not just the thing to get. And so, but you can start little. I have a friend who told me, I'm gonna shout out my friend Mary Elizabeth Harmon, and she talked about just doing things that feel like you're at that place where you want to be. So I think she said that she and her friend would have lunch, at the Ritz-Carlton, like every so often, just lunch, just a sandwich, but they're at the Ritz-Carlton, and it just, put them in that mindset of like, one day I will stay here, one day I will have dinner here, all that kind of stuff. So I try to learn from that and do that.
Absolutely.
I love that you bring that up, because we don't know what we don't know. In whether that's where we're talking about financial or where we're talking about energetically, right? Because I remember I've had the privilege one time of staying at the Ritz, and it was through my husband's job. So, the job was having an event there, and I had no clue. Like, I'm this little country girl that and you roll up in there and they greet you at the desk, y'all, with, would you like champagne? Or would you like, I can't even remember the other option, because I went for the champagne. Well, I guess water. I think it was water. Would you like champagne or water? I looked at my watch. Oh, yes, I would like champagne. But I had no clue that even happens, because when you don't have that experience, or like, how would you know? Right? How would you know that there's some places that greet you with that option?
Right. And we were talking about it, Christine. I don't think she's been on the show yet, but one of our future guests, and the difference in the I won't say where it is, because we're not talking about her book yet, but the difference in how different level employees were fed at work, right? The lower employees had vending machines, then it was like a buffet cafeteria style, and then it was the dining with the china, and it's completely different between putting some coins or a card into a vending machine and sitting down at a table with a napkin and being waited on. Absolutely.
Yeah, your meal should not crinkle. That's not a meal.
That's a good point.
That's not a meal. That's not, you're just not being fed on so many levels. That's
Isn't that the truth?
That's interesting.
That's deep.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, I can't wait to dive into this conversation with you about financial wellness.
Yes.
When you talk about the first thing I wrote down that we were talking about before the call is saying your number. And I know that say the number. Thank you. I know that was something I had to learn. So can you share about your perspective on that and what you think about when you say that?
Yeah. I mean, just, I have my personal experience with it, but as a, solopreneur, babypreneur, just having that like cold, like sweats, when you're going to ask for whatever it is, for a fee for, the service. My mostly communications is what I'm talking about. So, a lot of times, I would be trying to price, a long-term engagement. And I think I've come up with a number that's appropriate. And, back in the early days, like, I mean, I just laugh like now at that number, because I mean, it was nothing. People said yes too fast, but before they said yes too fast and I realized that the number was too low, I mean, I would have to, practice with my husband. He had a sales background. How am I going to say this? How am I going to say that? Go in there, still be sweating, still be nervous, only halfway present in the conversation because I'm trying to make sure I'm like geared up. And am I sitting, do I look like I'm commanding enough, like to respect, so that when I say this number, and invariably I'd say, X, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. And they'd say, okay, so, and move on. And I'm like, oh, I could have asked for more, and that happened like all the time. So I would work with that. But the thing that really just got me like passionate about this, and I was so glad that you all got this opportunity, is because for years I've been like wishing I had an opportunity to talk to women specifically, because what happened is after a few years, I started getting to a point in my business where I, could hire help for various things. And there was one week where I was talking to women I know who are experienced. I'm talking like an age range of probably 25, 30 years. So, they're different generations, and a range of things I needed. It was accounting, design, and I think that the third one might have been something like hiring another writer or something else. I think it was actually something outside of my expertise. So I was like, okay, like I have money, I can spend it. I want to grow my business, and I'm leaning on you women for help. And every single one of them could tell me so much about what I needed. And I mean, just great. And then when I was like, all right, how much would that cost? Well, I mean, well, we could talk about, and I was just like, just tell me what it's going to cost. And at that point, I'm just thinking the first couple of times from expediency, like, can we just like finish the conversation, so I can like move on. And then by the third person that week, I realized like we have a problem because these are very capable women and just couldn't say the number. I mean, literally, I'm like, what does this cost? And as like the demeanor would change, the conversation, the cadence of their speech would change. And I was like, this is tragic. And like, what's going on there? Why do we feel like we just can't say the number? And where did that confidence go? Where did that, where did you go? Where did you disappear to where you're not your whole self anymore? You're not, in that power. I mean, is this something that you all have seen or experienced?
Oh, this morning, Jennifer. Like I did a keynote last night for the University of Georgia for their honor society for their social work department. I was honored to be asked to go do this keynote. And so I had shared that on LinkedIn, and somebody reached out in my direct messages this morning and said, oh my gosh, I love the work you do in the world. What do you charge for nonprofits to come and speak for an hour? And I had that reaction. I know, and then I had to unravel it in my brain, because the other thing in my brain is I charge different rates for different organizations depending on size, and are they a nonprofit, are they a for-profit? And in some of my training, I've been taught to have the conversation before you name the number. But I did notice in myself, even because I knew what popped up in my head immediately, and then it was like, I could even feel myself with my years of experience and the work I do in the world. Like, can I say that number? I think I do think we have a problem. And here's the thing I will say too about it. When I do coaching and when I talk with my women at Manifesting Mondays, I always tell them to double their number. And it's so easy for me to say that to them. Yeah. But to not take that my own advice, right?
That's interesting.
I will tell you, with most of them, when I say double their number, they get that number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
Because they're undervaluing themselves.
And so I can tell you that I don't know if I ever struggled with the number, saying it. For me, Jennifer, it was not even knowing what to ask for a salary, let's say, right? The first time I was a salary manager, I don't know what the market is. I don't know. I didn't know what I needed my income to be. That was one. I didn't know my personal expenses to say, if I want to make 3 times my monthly expenses. My income needs to be this, right? At a minimum. Then again, every time they moved me, because I started at one location, got promoted 5 or 6 times through the different lower level positions, became a manager. They transferred me, became a kitchen manager. They transferred me, and I opened a restaurant. Every time they asked me to move, I was honored for the opportunity, right? Because that's the type of person I am. I never asked for anything. Why not? I didn't even realize it till I'm listening to the Secrets of Six Figure Women, this
Mhm.
audio book over quarantine. And I'm like, wait a minute, negotiate salaries. That makes sense. Why did I
Mhm.
not ask for more money? And so this time around, I'm doing a lot better job at it. But it was interesting because now also as an entrepreneur for Shalo Glow, now I'm working on wholesale prices, right? We have some nail salons and massage parlors that are interested in the oils and different products because they offer services and they want products to, increase their revenue. And I did the math. And again, because I think we hesitate because we don't know how to base the number. Part of it is fear, but then part of it is where do the numbers come from? And that's the cost of goods. For me, it's the cost of goods, labor, and then I keep in mind my goal profit margin,
Mhm.
right? So I did the calculations. I gave the wholesale discount that my partner and I had talked about after we did some market research on what normal companies do for wholesale discounts. And this person said, "Oh, you should charge more." Now, mind you, this is hundreds of dollars for a half a gallon of oil. And okay, this is a person that's interested in buying it. If he's asking me to charge more, I'm going to charge you more.
Mhm.
So when I sent him the invoice the next day, it was more money after I had worked it out. But yeah, it's a thing.
So those are the two things then that that you both are talking about. I think that can get you to say the number is conversation and education. And I think that's one of the
Mhm.
first things is we forget that it is a conversation. I think we have these notions about negotiation. And if you look at older books, it's like, you got to come in a certain way and it's a more adversarial kind of thing. And I've seen these, memes out there where they'll have like two cowboys and they're like in the Wild West and like they're going to draw their guns and one says like whatever company and the other says freelancer and one says well what's your rate and the other one's like well what do you charge or what's your budget
Yeah.
and they're just like pitted against each other in this adversarial relationship and it's like no, we're having a conversation, not a confrontation. And I
Mhm.
think that's part of what might have been happening with the women that I was talking to is we were having a conversation about my needs and their capabilities. And then because of our acculturation, it switched into a confrontation mode. And in which case you may have fear, you may feel uncomfortable, you may feel like you need to arm yourself. Like that was how I was feeling. I was going into things, in the early days, like, okay, it's them, it's me. And a lot of times too, I mean, it was a male dominated space. Like I was, negotiating with men, or I didn't even negotiate because my prices were too low. And they were like, yeah, that sounds good. And we moved on. But that was what I was preparing to do. And so remembering that it's a conversation and we're just coming to an understanding, and if somebody says no, that's okay. That's just
Mhm.
another, it's like, okay, I was going to go this way. I guess I have to veer a little left or veer a little right or something like that. But that's fine. And then to your point, Shannon, not knowing, that's a huge one. And I don't necessarily know if that was what was going on with people, but I know that that is a real issue. And
Mhm.
I think there are two ways to approach that. We can do a lot of research now. There's really no reason to not ask around, to not do your research. There's so many in almost every field. Everybody's doing these surveys of especially for freelancers and things like that, like what are people making? And to me it's appallingly low in almost every case where I see in my field the things people do. It's shockingly low.
Mhm.
And when I see that, I know that people aren't they're not having the conversation, right? They're not pushing the number up. They're not seeing exactly what's there. And I almost sometimes have looked at those things and been disappointed because I'm like, this is reinforcing a really low, I mean, and again, like maybe some people are sort of like earlier in their career or still really building up a skill set. So, they don't have as much to offer and can't charge as much, and that's fine. But a lot of times that's not the case. People are making the same wages even as their experience and skill set grows and they have more and more to offer, they're still like charging the same thing. So I think that conversation and education, and that's where you can have the conversation more confidently if you do your research. And then, I mean, the other thing is, man, I had a coach who just said that you educate yourself about like, what do you need? A business coach. And it blew my mind, the idea of, oh, well, let me, like, how much money do I want to make? Like charging based on that. It just never occurred to me that I could just charge based on what I want to make and find the clients who are a good fit in other ways and also willing to pay that. So I had to educate myself. Okay, like what does it take for me to have a beautiful life?
Right.
How much money does that take? How many hours can I work? And like, what do I need to charge to make that equation work? And that was just amazing to me.
How many hours can I work?
Right. I love that conversation, Jennifer, about, I think so many people, especially when they grew up not having a lot or not even knowing how to budget. Like, I know I came from a place of what's my bare bones budget, right? From putting myself through college and, eating way too many ramen noodles and things like that to not just going bare bones, to what does it take to make a beautiful life? And Eleanor is listening and says women's labor is 20% to 40%. And I'm not sure. Give us some clarification on that comment, Eleanor, in the comments. What else you want to say about that? I think I know what you're saying, but give us some clarification on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
And also, ladies, I'll like to go to the root of things too, right? A few decades ago, we weren't even able to get credit cards without our husband's signatures. Women weren't able to own land and own assets. So when you talk about balancing liabilities and assets and all this stuff, it's a whole new world, so
Sing it.
A new fantastic point of view.
Absolutely, and so being able to have, let's see what she says, women's labor is 20% to 40% cheaper than men's labor. So there is a lot of pressure on us to not negotiate a salary.
Right.
I hear you, Eleanor. And I think about Oprah's story when she says she's found out that one of her colleagues was making about twice as much as she made, right? And when she brought it to the supervisor, he said, well, he has a family and a home, and you don't have those things. Why do you need it? And in my mind, I'm like, because I want them. How can I ever afford to have it if I'm not making the money to support it, So it's important to see the difference because the time is the same out of our life,
I've had that happen. To your point, Eleanor, I found out later after I had I had a colleague and we remained friends, and just offhanded conversation. We were like, just talking about the old boss, and and he, threw out this number, and he was like, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to put up with that for X number. And this number was more than what I was making. And I had coached this, like I was above this person when they came in, and he and I both know that I'm twice as talented in this particular field. And so I was twice as talented and 3 times as experienced. And I mean, that was like a gut punch. And this is like, years after I'd left the job, and I just could not believe like it happened to me. I never would have, it didn't even occur to me. But I remembered when they hired him, there was this whole thing about, and probably this is what I took when I went to work with myself, like, oh man, he can really command a room. This guy could just, own a room. And they were talking about him before hiring him. I think this is the guy, he just own a room, And I was like, is that what they were paying for? Like, is like, and what did I own except for like a whole lot of responsibility and labor and yeah, 20 to 40% that's right on the money, Eleanor, about how much less I was making. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. And that was, like a second point that I wanted to come to was about was about this notion of knowing your worth, right?
Mhm.
And I hear that a lot when people are talking about, I think essentially the say the number thing, know your worth, say the number. But for me, I think we really do ourselves a disservice if we are tying our worth to our financial transactions, because I think if something happens and I can't work another day tomorrow, my worth does not disappear. When my labor is devalued, as it has been in the past, like in that situation I talked about, or the situations you talked about, Shannon, where you weren't offered opportunity. You weren't, no one said to you, we're asking more of you, so we're going to give you more.
Exactly.
So in my opinion, that was you were being devalued. But was your worth less with every devaluation that came from outside? No, it wasn't. Your financial gain was less than it should have been. So, I feel like know what your work is worth, or your service, or your offering. Know what your offering is worth, but that is not necessarily your worth. And frankly, what we have to offer is not worth the same amount to everybody. It's simply not, either in terms of how they see what you're doing, how much they need it. Another thing about saying the number and educating yourself is, depending on who it is that you're trying to work with. Like a lot of the clients that I work with, that I've worked with, I've had this like technology and life science niche. And there are some spaces where if my number is too low, I am not taken seriously, because they don't think I understand the difficulty, the complexity, or the importance, because they are used to spending at a certain level. So if I'm coming in too low, that's just signaling to them what that is worth to them. It's like, don't price with your own pocket. Know what it's worth to them. How do these people spend? First of all,
say that again. Say that again about
price with your own pocket.
Right?
So many times, don't price with your own pocketbook. Know what it's worth to them. Again, what the labor or the value or the service or the engagement or the relationship or whatever is worth to those people. And those are hard numbers to say. I'm talking like if someone's like, I need you to do, web copy. And there are folks who, we're overhauling a website. And I've had situations where if I did not quote 5 figures, I knew I would not be taken seriously. One time somebody, and I learned this from somebody who was kind enough to nudge me and say, let me clarify let me give you more details before we commit to this price. And I understood. And this was a woman who was just the sort of like a project manager kind of person who kind of, so that wasn't even going to be the person I was working with. But before they passed my quote on to where it was going to go, to who was writing the checks, they were like, let me just clarify. We mean this, and this. And I just wrote back, oh, thank you for clarifying, because in that case, and I think I added like 30% or something to what it was. And they were like, oh, okay, that sounds a little more like what we thought you might say. And then it moved on. And I was like, sister, thank you. Like,
yes,
like, oh, this is what that is worth for these people. Okay, for this kind of client,
Thank you for lifting that up, Jennifer, because there was showing the way that women connected in wisdom can support each other. Like that we don't know what we don't know. So reach out, like saying that to you just made a huge difference in your business and your life. And that took her an email, right? That's beautiful.
Actually, that has happened twice. That has happened to me twice. Completely different clients, different, years apart, where somebody, again, it was a woman who was kind of in the project manager position, was like, this number, let's talk a little bit more about it. And I have passed that on. I just very recently was talking with somebody, and they were quoting something. We were both collaborating. They're like a designer, and so we were collaborating to deliver a service. And after a call, I said, is there a reason why you charge $100 an hour? Not that's too low. Just, is there a reason why you charge $100 an hour? Because for the client that we were working with, that was on the low end. I know, I knew from my experience. And they were just like, you know what? Thank you for asking me that, because I have felt like maybe I need to do more or try to push it or whatever. And thank you for asking. I needed somebody to ask me that. So so that's not just this like internal, it's like, yeah, when someone from outside is just, and I just said, well, why don't you, I get it. Like, it's uncomfortable. So, what if on the next 3 quotes you give, you just add 20%, just try it, and I know for a fact that they're going to get it. They're going to get it. It's not going to be an issue. Like you said, Christine, you told people to double things. That can feel like very uncomfortable.
Right? It's a gut. Like, even as I say it, sometimes it's easier for me to say it than to do it personally. But
but 20% is just a tip. Add a tip. Add the gratuity.
I like that.
I love that. I love that advice. And it's one of those level ups or growth edges that once you do it, like, it's always shocking to me every time I've raised my prices or every time I've done it myself. Like, and people like, oh yeah, I mean, they pay it. I mean, I had it happen one time early in my coaching business that a guy that I'm still friends with, and I coached him years ago. He came to me and he says, I know that you're my coach and I'm coming to you because you're lower than this guy. And about 2 sessions in, he says to me, you're charging way too little and you are more talented than this guy and this guy, and raise your prices. And so, doing that for each other and saying, and it's not to, and I don't want to say like, put out whatever number when you don't have the experience or the background we're not saying that, like, but so many times when women undervalue themselves and they undervalue what they bring to the table. And I always think, oh, okay, well, what are the white males charging? Like, let's look, because they're not undervaluing themselves. So let's check that out and see what our rates need to be, right?
Absolutely. And I know that we value experience. Of course, we value the tenure in different industries. But I will also say, because so many industries require, even if it doesn't require, you should continue the education. If you're right out of school, you might be the most up to date with the newest technology or the software that's being used right now to offer what that client is looking for. So even then, I would say ask for it. And if they say no, so what I did recently, because again, tomorrow's my last day at the salaried job I've been talking about, went from door dashing last year, cleaning buildings with one of our guests that we had on the podcast. And I said, you know what? I was paying attention to the KPI and I said, I'm losing money. Like, I'm losing money cleaning these corporate buildings. I should just go back door dashing. Started working on the financial piece workbook, and Dave Ramsey's like, what side gig are you going to pick up? I said, you know what, Dave, let me go ahead and go to Top Golf. And I've been moving up. And each time I've moved up, I've asked for more. And they said, well, this is what we have. And I said, okay. And so when I got the call to get an opportunity, now I'm going to take the opportunity and continue to fall in line with what I need to make based on my goals of generational wealth and building these companies. Um, but that was uncomfortable to have just gotten in this salary position and say, you know what, guys, if this is where we're going to be, I respect it and I need to go, and not worry about what the team thought and what about the systems I was putting in place and what about the time that I invested. Some people say, well, I hate to waste it. And it's definitely not a waste. Everything adds on to itself. And if I'm looking at what I need and what it costs me to do X, Y, and Z, this is more in line with that and the different things I need for my environment and occupational wellness and all the things that we talk about, then it's not even a choice. It's something I have to do is how I look at it.
I love that, Shannon. And here's the other thing I want to say on that is you brought your best self while you were in that position and you did the work. Like, you got paid for the work you did. I think even as I'm hearing you speak, I think we do this as women often, or at least I know I've done it. Let me just speak for myself. I've done it in my own jobs. I stay way longer than I need to because I feel a sense of loyalty that they may not feel to me,
Mhm.
or that they, or I'm not checking in with my physical health and well-being, and I'm giving everything to the job or the corporation, and it, that's not reciprocal. So many times, right? It's
Mhm.
not reciprocal. So I just want to say, yay for you.
Thank
Yay
you.
for you in checking in with yourself and
Yeah.
knowing what you need and knowing your numbers. So when another opportunity came along, you could
Mhm.
say, yep. And I know our listeners may not know, but I
Mhm.
know because you did this with integrity. You went
Mhm.
to them and said, hey, I have this other offer and I want to give you a chance to match it
Mhm.
or meet it. And they couldn't. So
Mhm.
you're like, okay, thank you very much. And you gave your notice. So I watched you handle that with such integrity,
Thank you.
and well done. Yeah. Well
Thank you.
done.
Absolutely. Yes. And what
And
was
did
I
you?
gonna say? Go
Well,
ahead.
so I wanted to ask, like,
Mhm.
when you didn't get that, either reciprocal offer, or the offer like that would keep you there
Mhm.
financially from people that you had invested in, like, did you
Mhm.
have any kind of like feelings about that? Like, oh, I
Not at
can't believe
all.
they.
No, not at all. And thankfully, I've been blessed to be in a position where the people who I'm working with directly, I know the value that they have in my skill set. I do have the experience that we're talking about that is usually favored and sought after. So it's not that they don't know who they hired, it's, and I know that they specifically as individuals do not control the budget that's set aside for
Mhm.
certain things. So
Mhm.
again, I go to the four agreements: take nothing personal, don't make assumptions, do your best, and be impeccable with your word. Again, I try to operate a certain way, so I offered it. And at the same time too, I also had a range for myself. So this is what I asked for, but I knew that I needed to calculate out taxes to see what I was actually going to take home and make sure that I was still on track with the financial goals that I have for myself. And I'm going to ask above that just in case they lowball you. So those were the things that I was thinking about, but no, it wasn't personal.
Yeah, because your worth, you didn't tie your self-worth to your
Exactly.
job, or to your
Hmm.
income. So if they're saying,
Hmm.
nah, for whatever reason, we're not going to give you that, it's like, okay, that's fine. That's not
Yeah,
about me. That's just about
exactly.
this, financial relationship. One thing that you
Absolutely.
were saying about taxes, I want to encourage everybody to use a good calculator, a good take home pay calculator. I think one of the first one or two that pops up on Google is really
Let me
excellent because it
see.
asks a lot of things.
Take
It'll ask your
home.
state taxes, your, and various, a little bit more detail to give you a real number. And it's nuts how much you don't take home. And I think that's one of the things that trips us up and gets in the way of
Mhm.
financial wellness is
Yeah.
not thinking about the right number.
Mhm.
And if it's complicated, I mean, for a lot of freelancers or something, like if you just take 20% off whatever you're
Yep.
saying, that's a good round number. But I think it's good to really know the take home. I recently just took a job, and man, I was on that calculator. Okay, if I ask for this much, this is what I'll get. If I ask for
Mhm.
this much, this is what I'll get. I was on that running those numbers, and it was very empowering.
I didn't even know there was a such thing as a take-home calculator. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
take
figure
home
out how much I
calculator.
remember. I'm
Mhm.
gonna use it.
Mhm.
That's
And
important.
get one that asks especially things like, what's your state tax? What's
Mhm.
your, it'll ask you some of the things that are on the tax form. So, like special deductions that you might want to take, dependents and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not like
Mhm.
law or anything like that, but I will, I would be surprised if most people can come up with that number on their own,
Right.
because the tax situation is so complicated.
Mhm.
And that's just a great way. And you can, and it'll break up how you want to do it biweekly, how you're getting paid biweekly, annually, monthly. So you can even make it in whatever terms that you need. For some people, an annual number is just too big. For me,
Yeah.
biweekly is just too small. I can't really
Mhm.
figure out what kind of, financial power I can get with that number that's only broken out
Mhm.
into, 26 payments or something like that. So
Mhm.
that's just a really nice tool to use. And it takes the personal away from it. You don't
Yeah.
have to question yourself as much.
Jennifer, that's a great resource. And we will
Yeah, it
put that
is.
in our show notes for folks. And I'll confer with you after the show to make sure we get the one you like the best and
Yeah,
to put in
yeah.
our show notes. So folks can just click on that and find that out. Because often
Mhm.
we're like, people ask, like, how do I figure this number out? And
Mhm.
that's a great resource and a tool to be like
Absolutely.
back into it, right?
Mhm.
So empowering. So
Right?
Yeah.
empowering.
And I want to give space to Jennifer for something else we talked about before the call, about space for myself and also someone else, right? So I talked
Mm.
about um, just getting the position, and I'm excited about the systems I'm setting up, retail and inventory and training and all these things. And I'm leaving sooner than expected, right? I knew I was leaving because, again, I'm building generational wealth and going to create jobs myself, but didn't expect it to be International Women's Month 2022, right? But with me leaving, I'm able to hopefully pass it to somebody who's been really excited about it. Another young lady, we don't know yet, right? But I would love for her to get it. Just to pass it to her and set her up for success as a smooth transition and see what she does with it. So I know I've enjoyed doing that through my professional career, putting people on a salary jobs, or in
Yeah.
college, me and my roommates, we all worked at the gym. I got there and then two of them came on over, and that helped us pay our rent and take care of stuff in college. So when you think about that, can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, that is such a big thing. So, once you are, you know your number, you're educating yourself, you're saying your number. Then there's that shift of, if this is something that's a challenge of, oh, I've said the number, I'm getting it, and to really believe that is true. That is true for you today. It will continue to be true for you as often as you need it. Not to say that there aren't like ups and downs and back and forth or whatever. So for me, like personally, I had a situation this week where like after these years, I say the number, I can get the number. I'm so like happy with my financial situation right now. I'm where I would never I didn't really believe that I could get to where I am right now. And but some more but and one great thing about it, I think, that I'm financially well and like comfortable with the pace of the work, and I'm enjoying it. And so, I think that's all the part of financial wellness, is like the way the money comes in, is that healthy. And another opportunity came up, and I had that twinge where I was like, man, that'll put me in a real stress mode, but I can handle it. It's just a little few hours here and there, da 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 da, and I'm telling myself, and like even as I'm like, yeah, oh, that sounds great, like accepting the work, like I'm knowing that I shouldn't, because there was that like fear, that thing of, or even, and I was telling myself, oh, well, if I do that, then I can get to this other goal faster, right? Like this other financial goal, like it'll be just that much more and I can get a little bit more, yada, yada. And then, but by the end of the night, I was like, you know what? That was a mistake. That was a mistake. I should not have taken that. And so I went and said, like realistically, back to the person, this isn't gonna, this is not gonna work for me. I actually, do not have the bandwidth. And but I had somebody else to recommend, another colleague. And the really wonderful thing about it was, usually people, I'll just do the connection and people just leave you off a little email exchange, and for some reason they both like kept me on, so I got to see them talking. And I was so excited to see that my friend is a better fit. Like she is actually going to do better than I would have, just by their exchange. I'm like, wow, this opportunity is great for her, And it didn't occur to me that in making space for myself, to, again, like, what's a beautiful life? A beautiful life is not one where I am working constantly, even if the money is good. So I was making space for myself, like, I've got breathing room. Let me breathe. Let me keep that, and not suffocate myself again with work. I realized, oh, I made this space for somebody else to have an opportunity to shine, to connect with a new client, to do something. And I think it's probably going to be great. And I was like, damn, like she's going to do a better job. I think I would have done a great job, but she's just got a different background. She's got a different experience. She's just oriented differently. And they were just like hitting it off. And I was just like, man, like, so we don't know when we are creating opportunities for other people by by being financially well for ourselves, you know, and that may mean taking the work and that may mean passing it on. Because in taking work, I've been able to bring other people along with me, like you were saying, Shannon, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and that's a new one for me. So I'm gonna have to sit with that one for a little bit because I hadn't thought about that really.
Yeah.
So I could see it like play out in real time was really great.
Yeah.
That
It's a
is
beautiful
so
thing.
beautiful.
I love it. So, this is Jennifer's website. So if you would like to get in contact with Jennifer, go to how do you say it?
Yep.
Genoco.com.
Genoco, yep. I wanted Geno,
Love
but it was taken by some like Swedish guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, man.
And we will put that in the show notes so folks
Yes.
can find you. And do you have any events coming up, Jennifer, that you need folks to know about, or anything that you have? I know you're always doing incredible stuff in your community.
Yes. I mean, thank you for asking. I am the only thing is my little side baby, my little arts publishing side baby that I've been like working on in fits and starts for like 12 years now. I'm getting back into that again because I'm like, I'm going to leave myself space to do things that I love, you know? And so that's the only thing. So that's thechord.co, THECHORD.co. And maybe just to like bookmark that and keep an eye on that. Put a little subscription box there. It's been kind of on hiatus for a while and I'm gearing that back
Is
up.
that right?
Great. Yes, thank you.
Okay, no worries. And we'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah, so just to kind of keep an eye out for a relaunch, revival, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's coming back with some great discussions with visual and performing artists because that's what I love. So thank you for asking about that.
Right.
Other than
Absolutely.
that,
Well, we like to wrap with our guest every week, talking about, first of all, what a fabulous conversation. But as you think about this conversation today and you think about a hashtag for a wisdom in action from our conversation about financial wellness, what would your hashtag be?
I would say, okay, hashtag. Yeah, I would say hashtag walk in wisdom because we talked about a lot of different kinds of wisdom. We talked about being wise about what you need, being wise about the financial reality you're dealing with in terms of what the other people need, what are the numbers, what is their playing field. You know, we talked about and knowing ourselves. So yeah, hashtag walk in wisdom.
I love
I
it.
like
What you got, Shannon?
I have two. I have hashtag raise your price. Okay. Raise it. Okay. Raise the price. And the second one is hashtag enjoy the money.
Enjoy the money.
Woo! Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I love that one. I was
Mhm.
going back to our very opening conversation about hashtag know your numbers. Like know
Mhm.
your numbers, like know
I
what you
like that.
need,
Mhm.
and know that. I loved what you said, Jennifer, about what do you need to have a beautiful life. So
Mhm.
not just not just our basic budget, y'all, but what do you need to have
Yeah.
a beautiful life? And it doesn't have to be extravagant. Like, I mean, I think about like, I mean, to me, when I think about a beautiful life, it's like this week I got to go to Lowe's and buy the 5 Boston ferns that go across my front porch.
Yeah.
And there's been years that I haven't gotten to do that, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that every year when I have the ability to do that, it just makes my heart smile. And it's not crazy extravagant. It's 5 hanging baskets from Lowe's, right?
Mhm.
But it's like, it's those things, like knowing our numbers and know what brings us joy and know where to add that in, right?
Mhm. Yep,
Yeah.
I love that. That reminds me of one of our guests, in her joy list, right? What adds joy? And that's what I think about when I say enjoy the money. What are things that bring me joy? You know, getting my
Right.
nails done or going to get some good food. I need to continue my list, but yeah.
Right. And if you're listening and you're not in that place, things I did for years was I had a little, I still have it around here somewhere. I would do things that didn't cost any money. Like I put little strips of paper in a little, excuse me, a little bowl, and I could draw out like go for a walk in the park or go down to the river, or, you know, things that if my budget wasn't in a place to spend money, I could still find the joy in the day.
I like that.
I eventually started making sure to spend at least a little bit of every check that came in as a celebration of that money that came in. So, I mean, sometimes it was just like a little, you know, coffee and cookie date with my husband. Sometimes it was a nice date, you know, depending on how big the check is. But every single time I was like, some of this is going to go to my enjoyment. You know, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to, and it was fine. It was always fine, you know. So
I love that.
Every single time. How am I going to celebrate this? And it's like it is something to celebrate. You know, when money comes in, that's a beautiful thing. You know, when it goes back out, that's a remarkable,
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Right. You know? I love it. Eleanor says, #know your value. Yep. Oh, that's a good one, Eleanor. Thanks for listening today.
Yes.
Y'all, this has been such a good conversation. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for taking time out of your schedule and being with us and sharing your wisdom around financial wellness with us. And so grateful to be in community with you and to be connected.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And I'm so looking forward to learning more about the other people in your community. I've been listening, you know, to the podcast since you invited me, and it's great what you all are doing. So
thank you
for, you know, allowing me to be a part of it. And I would love for anybody who's interested to reach out, just say, hey, you know, I don't have anything to sell right this minute. So but I feel like whoever's, you know, coming, feeling called around this is probably, you know, somebody to connect with. So,
right. Absolutely. Because, you know, it's our firm belief and our values that when women get connected and lock arms and celebrate with each other and lift each other up, we can change the world, y'all. Like we can literally change the world. So thank you for being here today, Jennifer. We so appreciate you and look forward to talking to you more soon.
Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness. What a fabulous conversation. Woo, that hour went by quick.
Didn't it? And I'm so glad that I've been working on this, you know, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the call, having my wisdom teeth taken out. Thankfully, I have this position. It's been amazing. Benefits are amazing. I had health insurance, didn't have it that day. So I had to pay it out of pocket. Old Shannon wouldn't have had it. she didn't have it in her account. And so I'm thankful for the growth and the opportunity to be intentionally wise every day, because we have to stay there. You know, we can know to do better and then still slide into habits and have things that we struggle with. Like we mentioned, every day you have to be intentional about it. But I'm grateful.
It's incredible, y'all. We will put a whole bunch of fun stuff in our show notes, and I am aware of our time, so I want to close this out pretty quick here, but you can reach Shannon and I through our show notes. Check out Shalo Glow, our sponsor, and they got some fun stuff happening over there. Oh, wearing your shirt. I love it.
Because the shirts are being upgraded, so I had to wear it to end off the month for our live, for Instagram.
Fantastic, my friend. Speaking of, if you want more of us today, we are going to be live on Instagram at about 7:30 p.m. Eastern time with a bunch of our connected women from our manifesting group. And in the meantime,
be well, be wise, be whole. We'll see you next week for episode 62.
Looking forward to it.